What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Wait, What Are We Talking About podcast, episode 133. My name is Brett, aka Enigma9011, and today I am joined once again by JC, aka at Music with Friends. JC, how's it going, man?
Doing great, man. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for hopping on again. It means a lot.
Of course.
If you guys want to catch this podcast live, you go over to twitch.tv/Enigma9011 every Sunday, usually, at 8 p.m. Eastern. You can join the chat over there if you're a subscriber. We'd love to have you in on the conversation. But if you can't catch it live, that is A-OK. Go over to YouTube and search Enigma9011, where it's broken out topic by topic and put as one big video and MP3 for your amusement on the following Friday. Last but not least, hashtag ad merch store. Get all of your swag over there. T-shirts, cups, backpacks, and more. Rep the brand, support us, and we would love you for it. So, JC's back on today for a very special episode. We are going to be talking a whole lot of Marvel today. Now, if you're watching or listening to this, this is your first chance to leave. Now you're like, Brett, what the fuck? You want me to leave? For a good reason. If you are not caught up on the Phase 4 material, excluding Doctor Strange, I guess, or including, whatever. If you're not caught up, this is your chance to leave without spoilers. We are going to be talking everything Phase 4 up till Doctor Strange. So if you're caught up in that realm, you're good. Stick around. Hey, let's chat. If you're not caught up and you don't want to be spoiled, see you, bye, come back and watch this, listen to this later. Okie dokie. So Phase 4, JC,
Phase 4.
How are you
Phase
enjoying...
4 minus Doctor Strange.
Minus
Okay.
Doctor Strange. How are you enjoying Phase 4 so far?
It's perfectly fine.
Okay.
How about you?
I've been enjoying bits and pieces of it. There's definitely the highs, and then there's like, that was okay. I haven't hit a point where I think it's hit a low or like this is bad per se. Like there's points I'm like, that wasn't my favorite thing, but it's not, I'm disgusted. So yeah, chat, this section encompasses WandaVision, Falcon Winter Soldier, Loki, Hawkeye, Moon Knight. Those are the Disney Plus programs. And then you have, I'm sorry? What If? Thank you. Wow, how did I forget that? What If? Those are I know. After I defended it, what the fuck? Those are your Disney Plus programs. Then for the movies, you have Black Widow, you have Eternals, you have Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings, Spider-Man No Way Home. I think that's all of them. We're not counting Venom. We're not counting Morbius. I didn't even see that trash can on fire.
Don't even bring their names up. This was a pure podcast.
Shit! I'll edit.
How dare you?
And then obviously Doctor Strange, but yeah, later. Yeah, I think that's everything. If I forgot, then whoopsie. But
No, I
we'll hit it.
think that's it. I'm glad you just did that too, because I totally forgot about some of those.
Mm-hmm. Like I forgot about What If.
Oh. All right. So, what do you want to do first? You want to do it as a whole, or you want to do movies and shows?
Ooh, I kind of like your idea of movie and shows.
Okay.
Okay, so let's start with the shows. So we've had the 6 or whatever we just listed. Has there been a favorite so far out of those shows for you?
Moon Knight, hands down.
Oh, interesting.
No contest on my end whatsoever.
Okay, what made it your favorite?
For sure. I think in terms of like genuine acting performances between Ethan Hawke and Oscar Isaac, that's got to be, in my opinion, obviously, the best performances we've seen in the entire MCU, without question. I honestly like award-winning caliber. Like these guys could go to the Oscars for their performances on this Marvel streaming service, and they should sweep. It's just genuinely so good. And on top of that, the visuals. There's a lot of projects, or a lot of times I find with Marvel that it's more put a camera on a tripod, film whatever they want to film, and then they just call it like that. They don't really like dive into beautiful cinematography or like really meaningful shots. But I feel like Moon Knight just kind of took that, and it's beautiful. The way they played with mirrors, the way they played with framing, the way they did everything in that show. I just, from a filmmaking standpoint, that show is a high for me. In terms of like storyline, it falls into a lot of the pitfalls that a lot of these streaming shows do. It feels like they're kind of just stretched out, padded a little bit for time. I've noticed with Moon Knight specifically that it follows the exact same episode arcs as Loki. If you watch episode 1, 2, 3 of them at the same time, you realize the same exact thing happens to the characters. I think it's like episode 3, spoilers, the character dies and then goes to like a heavy CG realm, right? And then they have to deal with like CG characters, like, you know, a CG alligator or CG hippopotamus, or it's all very similar. But I just, Moon Knight with the acting and the way it looks was just, wow.
Interesting. Okay.
How are you?
That's a tough one because I want to lean towards Loki just because of the bigger implications, but I don't know if that was like the best. And then I feel like if I say WandaVision, that might be just because it was the first one kind of thing. But that one, I really enjoyed the conversations everybody was having of like, just the mind fuck that was going on of trying to figure it out. And I mean, Loki obviously is that too with towards the end and the you know, the time shit. Man. I think I would choose WandaVision overall as my favorite. Falcon Winter Soldier was fine. Hawkeye was fine. I do enjoy Kate Bishop's character a lot in Hawkeye, and I found her, you know, like relatable. Moon Knight, I totally agree. Visually, loved it. I don't know much personally about the character, and this definitely was like the door opening experience to me. Like, oh, okay, there's more behind just this cool suit that I've seen here and there in the games and stuff like that. And then what if, I think we talked about it in our last podcast, or maybe it was off stream, I had a lot of hopes for What If, and I was excited for it. And it was cool in a way, but sometimes felt very rushed, and I didn't like that. And I mean, I get it. They're trying to tell this story in this one episode, you know, arc, but I was like, I wish you could have fleshed that out a little bit more.
I think let's take this rushed conversation. We'll just put it in our pocket right here.
Okay.
Revisit that later.
Okay.
Because there's something to be said for sure. But no, I agree. So I think the biggest disappointment from the TV shows for me was Hawkeye.
Okay.
Because I love the character Hawkeye. I think he's great. I think actually Kate Bishop is a really cool character. And I do think she was portrayed very well in the show. I just thought the show was very weak. Okay. It felt a little corny at times. I think they totally just misused Yelena's character because she's spectacular as a character and she really could have done cool things. So I wasn't thrilled with that. I thought that was probably my biggest disappointment. I'm not saying it's the worst. What If couldn't have disappointed me because I went in with such low expectations. It couldn't have been any worse than it, you know? So What If is exactly what I expected it to be. I think it's funny because they're like, let's make these short little one-off stories and we could do anything, you know? We can use any characters. They could be in any situations. And they just like played it safe for every single episode. And a lot of it really kind of came across as fan service. And then in the very end, they connected all together anyway. So what was the point, you know? So it was perfectly fine.
Okay.
And then I do have to tell you, I agree, WandaVision was top notch. I think the format of it was incredible. You know, very seldom does Disney/Marvel kind of stray from their formula. You know, a lot of these movies kind of fit in the same cookie cutter kind of situation, and WandaVision was different, at least for the first couple episodes. As we started to get more into it, it started to feel familiar, but also really good performances, decent implications without being overburdened by the MCU as a whole. I think that one's probably my number 2 for sure of the shows.
Nice. Okay, so Hawkeye, what did you think about the reveal for the villain? Were you excited about that? Oh, okay.
No,
I'm just kidding.
I was, but I feel he was completely misused.
Okay.
I feel the representation was poorly done. We're talking about
Mr. Kingpin.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I forget I can spoil.
Yeah, we're all good. Everything is out there except for Doctor Strange.
Yes, but So yeah, I mean, he. So I do have to be full disclosure. I did not see Daredevil season 3, or Defenders.
Yeah, that was the mashup.
I didn't see a lot of those Netflix shows. I saw the first 2 seasons of Daredevil, and they were incredible. Don't get me wrong. And I think Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin was just like top tier casting. I mean, he nails that role.
Right.
And I thought he did so good from what I saw on the Netflix show. And then to have him be this like, he just showed up. He really wasn't that impressive. And then, he died off screen.
Right.
It feels like a waste. It feels like they took something really good and just kind of like, I don't know.
I guess. I think it's more of like kind of introducing these characters. Like the whole Netflix deal, excuse me, like it was connected, but it wasn't connected. We're going to acknowledge it, but not acknowledge it. And like the Netflix shows, I personally fell behind on. Like I started watching Daredevil season 1. I liked it, but for some reason at that time, when we're both in California, it felt like a chore. And it's weird to say because now like the program is the same amount of time, but I'm like, yeah, let's go. And I just like, I started the shows and then I didn't follow through. So now watching it, I've watched through season 1 and I agree. It's a totally different character because, well, Disney's a little bit different in their programming. But I think it's a way to reintroduce, along with obviously Spider-Man, which we'll talk about later, with Daredevil popping up. Like, you mentioned he dies off screen. Clearly he's fine, right, or else they would have showed it or something. Exactly. So I think it's more of that reintroduction factor. And yeah, this was just a glimpse. I don't think they'll go as full Kingpin as we've seen on the Netflix side of things. But we could find a balance,
I would love it. I think Disney could stand to be a little bit more graphic and violent with some of these stories for sure.
Yeah, especially with those cast of characters like a Punisher. Like you kind of have to do that. And now with Disney Plus, I mean, obviously they've acquired those shows for their streaming platform. They have the mature audience filter.
Yeah.
You could do it. Maybe you do it in this format, but maybe movies, because it's more general audience, you could taper it off or whatever.
Sure.
However, later conversations, I would say some of those things were pushing boundaries, but maybe I'm skipping ahead. Whatever. We'll get there.
We'll put that in the pocket.
Another pocket, yep.
Yeah. Pocket's getting a little full, but we're good. We can handle it.
Yeah.
Also worth noting, too, so I was really disappointed because I loved, just jumping back to Moon Knight real quick.
Yeah.
Hawk's villain was great, and then of course he dies off camera in the last episode. So yeah, they have a lot of beats that they like to hit, Disney, on these shows.
Yeah, I will say, toss away. Well, not toss away, but villains here, and then whoop, there they go. Villains here, whoop, there they go. Yeah,
exactly. And they do have that problem too, that this has plagued them forever, of weak villains. Like either weak motivation or just not enough screen time to care.
Right.
Like Loki obviously isn't a fair example because he had like 6 movies and a TV show now. So everyone's like, Loki's a great villain. Well, of course he is. He had so much time.
Right.
I think Netflix's Kingpin was great. I think Ethan Hawke and Moon Knight was great. I think Thanos was great, but obviously that's multiple movies too. So it's funny to me that you can have all these movies and still have like such weak characters, because just going to bring out that word rushed real quick again. Just sometimes these things feel very rushed. And I felt that a little bit with the shows too. It just kind of seems like they're really trying to do quantity over quality in some of these.
Okay.
Like they're really just trying to get content out without really taking the time that some of these projects deserve. I think the first half of like Falcon and the Winter Soldier was really genuinely good. And then I feel like everything just got, it's funny because there was parts of that show that moved too slow in my opinion. And then the end was just like, like what? Well, you tell me you couldn't have paced that just a little bit better. And these shows too, Loki was really bad in my opinion at creating these like false cliffhangers between episodes, like things that really were not cliffhangers, but they clearly wanted you to feel like they were cliffhangers. So that was the thing that bugs me too. So it's like this, the pacing is something that I feel like these shows definitely lack and they need to work on. But
All right. So let's flip over to the movie side of things. So we have had the 4 films that we talked about before: Widow, Eternals, Shang-Chi, and then Spider-Man. Do you have a favorite of those 4?
Of those 4,
Mm-hmm.
Black Widow.
Black Widow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Why is that?
So Black Widow, I felt her character had ran its course.
Mm-hmm.
She absolutely needed a solo movie, but it should have come 10 movies ago,
We
right?
talked about that too. Yep.
Yep. So it's interesting to me. She's finally getting a movie after she's dead.
Right.
So I went into that with very low expectations. I'm like, this is a cash grab. They're realizing that they kind of backed themselves into a corner because they didn't give themselves any powerful female leads to make movies off of. So they did it too late. I mean, they had plenty of characters and they just didn't give them the spotlight they deserved.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, let's try to do a Black Widow film. And I was like, this is a cash grab. It's not really going to be that good. Went into it, loved it.
Mm-hmm.
I was so genuinely impressed with how decent that movie ended up being, that I think it really kind of shot up. So I'm like, hey, I did not expect anything from this film. I was genuinely entertained.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think it introduced some really cool characters. Had the same problem where the villain ended up being, pretty weak. But I
really wanted Taskmaster to be a thing.
I know.
And I was like, yay, they're in the movie. And then the end, I'm like, oh, bye.
Yeah. Who knows? They made Mandarin it. I mean, they made like 6 movies later, like, that wasn't the real Taskmaster. No, but I just, overall, I really like the way it was just a very entertaining movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it had really good characters. And it definitely fleshed out Black Widow more for me, even though I did not expect it to do so. I thought they did a very good job. And so I think that one for me is definitely my top.
Nice. All right.
What about you?
Oh, okay. So Spider-Man No Way Home was amazing. And I want to pick that so bad. I think I went to see it 3, maybe 4 times in the theaters just because it was just like, obviously, a big, giant nostalgia trip. And you mentioned this earlier. And this is kind of for the people watching live. And there's a YouTube video for Doctor Strange personally that I recorded. And I use this phrasing too. Phase 4 is fan service. If you watched things, you are getting rewarded in this phase, whether it's show to show or long term. And Spider-Man No Way Home was fan service galore. Daredevil, Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, Doc Ock, Green Goblin, all these villains coming back. That was fan service, the movie, and it was fun as hell and enjoyable as hell. And I want to put that as my favorite, but I'm not sure if the nostalgia factor is like what's pushing it that way. However, I think I'm going to be the smart, reasonable man and say Shang-Chi was my top because it blew it out of the water and I knew nothing about this character. Fight scenes were awesome. I learned a lot about this character and want to know what is next for him. Aquafina was hilarious. Like, that was really, like, I don't know. That one just, like, blew it out of the water crazy. And I loved it. Yeah, so I would put that as my favorite out of the 4.
Yeah, that's my number 2 easy. And I'm really, really glad you said what you said about Spider-Man, because that was going to be one of my spicy takes.
Ooh.
Don't get me wrong. I enjoyed the living hell out of Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
It was very entertaining.
Yeah.
In my opinion, it was not a good movie. What they did is they took something very bland and they took some shiny keys and just jangled the shiny keys in front of me as a viewer for 2.5 hours?
Right.
So the way I like to look at it is you take that movie, right? And then you take away all the fan service like you were saying. What does that leave us with? Very little. There is very little in that film.
I mean, in a way, heads up, video chat might end in a few minutes, but we'll re-loop.
Okay.
I don't know, because, I mean, it does expand on Peter's story and Tom Holland's story.
Yeah.
It definitely, obviously, yeah, like you said, the dangling of the keys, like, it has those elements that fit in here to make it work. I don't know. It's tough to say. Like, I think the story was strong, but I totally understand the points you're making with it as well.
The reason I find that film so fascinating too is because that's the pure definition of a COVID film.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know if you noticed, but their crowd scenes never had more than like 10 people. You could tell they digitally added a lot of these characters into scenes together. For the most part, a lot of these actors didn't even work together. They didn't even shoot new footage for Sandman or was it Lizard? Is his name Lizard? Yeah. It's all recycled footage from old films.
Yeah, I did notice that.
So I find it very interesting that way. I totally respect that they had some very serious limitations they had to work with. Completely understandable. But it's just, for me, it was another situation where it felt like they just put a camera on a tripod and filmed things. It didn't really look dynamic. It felt very bland. I think you were I completely agree that moving along Tom Holland's character was great. And I think the ending was a huge emotional impact. But other than that, it was fan service. It was a nostalgia trip. I think a lot of the writing itself was lazy. Like Ned, they needed to give Ned something to do. They're like, why don't we just suddenly make him a master of, the Doctor Strange tricks? And I'm like, that's kind of weak to me because that really shouldn't happen. I know they explained it like, oh, in my family lineage always said, yada, yada, yada. Uh-huh. Okay, dude, that's fine, I guess. And then, it just, leaving the theater, I was like, hell yeah, this movie's great. And then the adrenaline calmed down and like my annoying filmmaker mind kicked in. And I'm like, it wasn't really a lot there. There wasn't really a lot. Mm-hmm. I thoroughly enjoyed the Green Goblin. I think they did a good job with him. But like, let's be real. Tobey Maguire went back to his universe and died. The dude just got stabbed in the back with like 3 12-inch serrated blades. I mean, he's dead. He went back to his universe and he died. But also, like, all these bad guys were turned good,
right?
Just to get sent back to their universes where they probably were killed or arrested, or like, it's not a happy movie. It's pretty messed up. And also the end where Peter's like, the only way to fix this is to get Doctor Strange to erase everyone's memory of me. Just erase everyone's memory of Mysterio, and then like. We wouldn't have said that his name was Peter Parker and all this shit, But
yeah, in the beginning. At the point later, you couldn't really do that because you saw the astral projections of our future villains, hopefully, in the sky. But
yeah, just that movie. I did not love it the way everybody else loved it. Okay. I unfortunately couldn't not look at it with a critical eye. If I was just going strictly off of like viewing experience and adrenaline, then like hell yeah, you know. But that one is not below Eternals. Don't get me wrong. But that one I think is actually, of these 4, I'm forgetting one. Eternals, Black Widow,
Shang-Chi, Spider-Man.
Okay, so yeah, Spider-Man would be number 3 then for sure. And then Eternals is just.
All right. Before we jump over to Eternals, what did you think of the crossover that we did not expect to happen of a Tom Hardy Venom?
Oh my God. I think we went out to dinner afterwards, and I could not help but just complain angrily about how freaking mad I was that they did that. I was hurt. I was upset. I was emotional.
Now, were you upset that he showed up, or were you upset that he got kicked out?
It's a very conflicting thing for me.
Okay.
Let's go into some detail here.
Sure.
I love Tom Hardy.
Okay.
He's actually one of my favorite actors. He is in so many good things. I hate Sony. I hate everything Sony makes. I hate everything they do to these Marvel properties. So I refuse to see their films.
Okay.
And when they grabbed Tom Hardy, I was like, no, that's my boy. And they took him from me. And then to put the Sony nonsense and meddle with this Sony nonsense and put it into my pure, pristine MCU was devastating to me. Okay. I hate that.
Okay.
I was very unhappy.
So how did you feel at the end of his adventure into the MCU?
It was pointless.
Was it?
Oh, no, I get you. Just the implication. What are the implications? I don't know, because I think they already said that they're planning on making 3 more Tom Holland Spider-Man, so
I think so, yeah.
I'm sure they're gonna do something with that.
We can have a Venom that's good. Not that the other Venom's not bad.
But
it's
what
okay.
if we don't have a Venom that's good?
Then it was pointless. Why show the goop still there?
I am going to be cautiously optimistic. I'm not going to get my hopes up. I'm going to just
give me my 90s cartoon Venom, damn it, please. I don't need this bromance Venom that is entertaining and I laugh at, but I don't need that.
I've heard things, and I hear there's like some homosexual undertones to Venom, and I think that's awesome. I think that's actually a really clever way to do that film.
Mm-hmm.
It's like kind of like a gay romance film between Venom and Tom Hardy's character, whose name I don't even know. I do think that's actually genuinely really cool. I think that's a cool idea. Still not gonna watch it. If Sony hadn't made it, I would probably have watched it. But all right, so here's a question for you: who's playing Marvel's Venom?
I don't know.
Anybody in the world.
I'm terrible with that, like, fan casting actors. Because, okay, like, the first one that came to my head isn't even somebody who I think is, like, evil or, like, is that. But I was like, oh, Keanu. Like, I just want Keanu involved somewhere. But I don't know. I haven't seen him in that, like, mean role from my experience. Maybe there is something out there that, you know. But, like, that was just the first person that came to my head just because I want him in the universe. Not that I think he would be good.
Have you heard, like, the Keanu Ghost Rider rumors?
I've heard that. I remember when he was rumored for Moon Knight before Oscar Isaac was confirmed. This man's being thrown left and right. And, I mean, I'm okay with it.
As long as we get him before Warner Brothers or Sony, I'm fine. But we just need to get him.
Warner Brothers already has him. He's a Matrix flipping around.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God. Don't even get me started on that.
Didn't watch it. I don't know if I want to.
Oh, my. If I could ever recommend you don't watch a movie, do not watch that movie.
Okay.
My God. But anyway, that's a whole other... Woo!
Yeah, next podcast.
Next podcast, yes.
Okay. Eternals appears to be at the bottom of your list. What were your thoughts on Eternals?
I feel bad putting it at the bottom of my list because it's something different, and I want to support Marvel and Disney doing different things in the MCU because it can get very bland. So I don't want to poop on it for being something different. I liked that it was different. It just wasn't good, in my opinion. Visual effects were fine. Dialogue was pretty weak. It was pretty slow in some areas. That horribly awkward G-rated sex scene in a Disney movie was just like one of the most bizarre choices I think I've ever witnessed. And then they killed off my boy Gilgamesh too soon. I loved him. Yeah. He was a great character. Yeah. But kudos to them for making me love him. I mean, that's good development right there. Oh, absolutely. So I had emotional stakes when he died. Other than that, I didn't give a shit about any of them.
Okay.
So, that was the problem I had with that movie.
Okay. Yeah, after watching it, like, I really enjoyed it because, once again, it was a property I have no idea who the hell anybody is, and Same. I enjoyed what they told, and I agree, totally connected with Gilgamesh. The others, like, there was some relationship. I couldn't even tell you any of their names, though. And it feels like a Guardians of the Galaxy where it's like a homework assignment. Yes. Like, especially at the end, like, wait, who are you popping in claiming this with the other thing? I've seen this little gnome dude, but that's also a video game. And I'm like, fucking, what? Yeah. I think I might need to rewatch that one because that one doesn't resonate as much, but it could have been worse. It could have been worse.
Oh, yeah, no, I agree with you. It definitely could have been worse. Yeah. Also, like, a big thing for me is you have that big grand finale fight where everyone showed up, and I'm going to butcher his name, so I apologize. Kumail? You know, I think it's Kumail is the actor's name, correct?
Correct, yep.
I believe it's how it's pronounced. Where was he?
Yeah, just like...
Where was he? So I assumed, because I always go to production issues, so I'm like, he probably wasn't there because maybe he was filming something else, or it was like scheduling conflict. And no matter how much I Googled this, there were no answers. So, like, what the hell? Where was he? Right. I thought his character was also very entertaining, you know, pretty standard comic relief, which everyone in that movie was trying to be comic relief, which is also a problem. But I was like, why is this? How are you just gonna remove a whole character from the finale fight where everyone's supposed to be there?
Right.
Um, yeah, I mean, I would definitely give it another watch. I think I didn't, like you said, I didn't know anything about the property. I didn't know anything about Kit Harington's character. I didn't know there were connections with the Blade. So the post-credit scene was like, who the hell was that?
Oh, okay.
And it's like, it's Blade. I'm like, oh, interesting. It's Blade.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say it was bad. I didn't enjoy it. And of the four that we're discussing, that was definitely, I think you were spot on with Shang-Chi. I think it was beautifully shot. The acting was good. The action was good. Characters were good. That was genuinely like a really good movie.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. So before we hop over to the elephant in the room, the future of Phase 4. We have, at least on the Disney Plus side of things, we have Miss Marvel starting, I believe, in June or July. And then after that is She-Hulk. And then movie-wise, movie-wise, July we have Thor. And then I'm forgetting what is after that, but I feel like it's November time period. But I'm blanking. So at least for those.
Is that Black Panther 2?
It might be. Maybe.
I think
Wakanda Forever. Yeah.
Because they're filming Guardians 3 right now. Ant-Man 3, I think, is wrapped.
I think they wrapped Guardians like recently.
Did they?
I think so, yeah.
The Guardians and Ant-Man are wrapped.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's got to be Black Panther comes out later this year.
Gotcha. So what are your hopes for those few properties that we've listed off?
So I'm blindly loyal to Ant-Man.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to love that movie no matter how bad or cheesy it is. I love Ant-Man. I think what they did to the character was good because, you know, in the comics it was about Hank Pym, and Hank Pym was like an alcoholic wife beater. I think he like beat his wife to death one time. So clearly that doesn't translate well to a Disney movie.
Right.
So I do like that they went along with Scott Lang instead of Hank Pym because Scott Lang isn't an alcoholic woman beater. So generally a good move, I would say. I really like that. I think there's just something cool about Ant-Man. I think those properties are cool. So very excited for that. I'm cautiously optimistic for Thor.
Oh,
I liked Taika Waititi a lot when he was first getting started, but now that I feel he's gotten the recognition, which he did deserve, I feel like they're giving him just a little bit too much control with his projects, and they're kind of all going in a strange direction.
Okay.
So I will see. I'm cautiously optimistic. I think it will be good. I just don't want it to be too far in whatever direction it's going in. The trailers give away nothing. I don't even know the plot of the movie from the trailers.
Man.
And then other than that, I think I'm interested to see Black Panther, see how they handle the loss of Chadwick.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think the shows I'm all just meh for. We'll see how they go. I think She-Hulk could be interesting. It's going to be I assumed they were going to try to bring in what's his name's Red Hulk, but he just passed away, the actor William Hurt.
Right, yeah.
R.I.P. obviously. So curious to know what's going on with that. Obviously, Tim Roth's Abomination is going to come back. We'll see Mark Ruffalo again. That might be the last time we see Mark Ruffalo in the MCU.
Oh, really?
Although they're talking about doing a World War Hulk film.
Oh, that's been rumored forever. I don't think they can do a solo Hulk film because Universal or some shit.
The reason they didn't want to is because Universal still has distribution rights. So they could make the film, but Universal would distribute the film, which they're like, I don't want to do that. But they did. I mean, at this point, they'll probably just end up buying Universal anyway, like they did to Sony. So, not Sony, Fox. So, who freaking knows?
We'll see.
What are your thoughts? What are you feeling?
I'm kind of excited for, was it The Marvels or Miss Marvel? But that might just be because of my experience with Kamala Khan in the Avengers game, which I know also is very controversial. People hated that game. Story-wise, like, her character kind of, I think, will be like a Kate Bishop, like fangirl. Like I'm rooting for her. I think that'll be interesting. I'm confused on how they're changing her powers. So, if my understanding is correct, she like inherits something from Captain Marvel. It's like the Kree radiation or something like that causes her to do like the Mr. Fantastic stretching and stuff like that. And in this, it almost looks like it's a bracelet that is giving her the abilities. And I'm like, why are we doing that? So that has me a little scared. But other than that, I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, She-Hulk's a weird one. I, once again, know not much about the Jen Walters character. I know she's Hulk's cousin, and she's a lawyer, but that's about it.
That show is going to be a procedural lawyer comedy.
Yeah, so...
Which, interesting, right? With some superheroes in there. Yep.
And then, I'm looking forward to Thor. I think... I mean, we got the reveal in the trailer. I just want to know what's up with Jane. And once again, it's this Phase 4 is fucking fan service galore. Like, we're putting this character in. But it seems like, at least for now, we're done with the Hocus Pocus multiverse, where I'll talk about it in our next topic. But they can do these fun things that can be one-offs. As far as I know, this isn't a multiverse thing, so I'm curious how that rolls around, because obviously Mjolnir is back also, which multiverse could explain that, but what I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's still around. Who knows?
Yep.
So yeah, Phase 4, exciting stuff. All right, chat. It's your moment of glory. It's the moment you've been waiting for. If you haven't seen Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, the door is to camera left. I think. You need to go that way. Leave and come back later after you've seen this movie. We are talking full spoilers for Doctor Strange. This is your last warning. I don't want any hateful comments. I'm going to get them anyway. But this is your warning. We're going full Doctor Strange spoilers starting now. JC, what did you think of the film?
I want you to go first.
Okie dokie. All right. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Now, I talked about recording my own thoughts also on Doctor Strange previously, before this. After the movie, leaving it, similar to how you said with Spider-Man No Way Home, I was stoked for the cameos we got and the appearances we got, which I'm sure we'll deep dive later. I thought elements of the film were really fun and exciting. After giving it some time, this is a fun movie with fun moments, but it is not a great movie. It's just okay. Not bad, not, the best thing ever. It's like, it's okay. A lot of fun moments, a lot of enjoyment. Not the quality, but at least like where it would rank amongst things. Yes, Mrs. G hits it right on the head with one of the negatives. The stupid music fight. That's the lowest. That's the lowest part. So yeah, that would be my thoughts.
Okay. Hell yeah.
What about you?
I hated it.
Okay.
I genuinely hated it.
Okay.
I left super unhappy, but I was like, I'm going to give it time. I'm going to sleep on it. I slept on it. I woke up the next morning disliking it even more than I did when I left the theater. It's now been a couple days, and I still, hate is a strong word. I really did not enjoy, and I thoroughly disliked this movie.
I almost thought he was going to do the 180 and say, hate's a strong word. I really hate this movie.
I despise this movie. I loathe this movie. No, I did not like this movie.
Okay.
Yeah. Oof.
All right. Where do we start? What makes you despise the movie?
I think one of my big things, so I'm going to go ahead back to the whole, they set a camera on a tripod and filmed it. I'm sitting in this big budget Hollywood movie in a movie theater, and I'm comparing it to Moon Knight, which is a streaming service show. And I'm like, Moon Knight was so masterfully shot. And then this film, to me, was so boring to look at. It was just, they literally, camera on a tripod, film it, okay, we're done. And that leads into, to me, every single actor in that movie phoned in their performances. I thought the acting was really bad on everyone. And it's shocking because, like, I know these are good actors. I've seen all these actors in other projects put on really good performances. So I don't know if like the director didn't care, which is Sam Raimi, you know. I didn't know if there's like studio issues or what. I just thought the acting performances for me were so bad. And the new I'm not familiar with the actress's name, but the woman who plays America.
Yeah, it's an interesting spelling, so I don't know how to
Yeah.
pronounce it either. But
This is gonna be very harsh, but I don't know how she made it past auditions.
okay.
I was so unimpressed with her acting. And granted, I don't think she was given much in terms of character because the writing was also bad, in my opinion. But there was no point in this film, you know, when you're watching a film and you're invested in the film and you're not thinking about the fact that you're sitting in a movie theater watching a film.
Right.
I don't know that there was a single point where I was actually invested in this film. From the visuals to the acting to the writing, there's a lot of technical mistakes, like very amateurish mistakes I noticed within the film. And the whole time I'm just like audibly gasping or making like hand gestures the whole time because I was so unhappy with the film. Even as I'm sitting there watching it, I just couldn't get into it. Everything about it to me was really poorly done.
Okay. Interesting. All right. What do you think is the biggest factor to lead to your experience, like that negative side?
Like in terms of what makes the film the way it is in my eyes?
Yes.
When I watch this film, I see multiple different films. Okay. What I see is there is clearly, in my opinion, a struggle between director and company in the post-production cycle. Okay. I think Disney wanted to do something different, you know, like Eternal's different. And again, I don't want to poo-poo them for doing different things. They just, in my opinion, haven't done it right yet. So they're like, let's bring Sam Raimi in. He can be a new thing. And they either didn't give him enough power or they gave him too much power. And then in post-production, they didn't like his product. So they tweaked it and meddled in it themselves. And it became so convoluted and jumbled that it was significantly worse than just a pure Disney film and significantly worse than just a pure Sam Raimi film because it was confusing and muddled. And the battle between the two left us with a product that to me was disjointed, cheap, corny, and just poorly executed on all facets.
Okay. All right. Now, I know, like you said, they wanted to try to do something different. I know initially they wanted that horror vibe, which they definitely did in this film. Holy crap, how many jump scares did we have? I know they wanted to go with that aspect, and originally they had the director from Sinister, which I'm blanking on his name right now.
Also blanking.
But I know he left the project, and then Raimi had come in. He still gets executive producer credit. I don't know if that's because of his work as a director prior, or if he just swapped roles. Yeah, it's one of those things, like, it would be interesting to see what was intended. I mean, Ant-Man was good, but also we had a director leave there. Crud.
I think you're right.
Yes, thank you. It would have been interesting to see how that worked out, too. Like, I know, you know, obviously Marvel's got this big overall plan, and, you know, you need to hit certain key points, but I'm curious as to why there was, like, that friction between director and studio in both instances, and I'm curious how this would have been different if that director stayed on.
Yeah, Sam Raimi, you've seen some Sam Raimi films, I'm assuming, outside of the original Spider-Man trilogy?
No. That's the only three that I can think of.
That's perfectly fine. So Sam Raimi has a very specific style.
Okay.
He loves kind of campy horror is definitely his thing. Okay. He loves jump scares. He loves like whip pans and quick zooms and all that stuff. It's a very distinct style. And there's definitely moments in this film where you see that, but it's not present throughout, which I think is a lot of why I believe there was some post-production meddling, because there's clearly a Sam Raimi film there. I personally am not the biggest fan of Sam Raimi's style. I know a lot of people are. I wouldn't hold that against the movie. If this was just a pure Sam Raimi film, I would acknowledge that not necessarily my style, but could still be a good movie for sure. This wasn't. It was muddled throughout for me. But there were definitely hints. If they had done pure Sam Raimi, cheesy horror throughout instead of just like the couple jump scare sections. And I feel like it kind of more caught a groove towards the second half of the film. I think it overall would have been much better. Just, yeah. And we'll go back to the musical note fight. I don't even know what that was.
Yeah.
There's no basis for that. I mean, a lot of the movie was just Dragon Ball Z, you know, like Kamehameha, Powerball, like, oh God. And then, but then like suddenly they're like, oh wait, we've had too many Kamehamehas. Let's do music notes. And it's like, that was a weird choice.
Yeah, I was fine with the initial concept, like use it as a projectile, but then once the orchestral fight went back and forth, I'm like, nope. No.
And like, so like going back to that fight too, I thought the CGI in this film was really bad. Like some of the like the environmental visuals were great and some of the destruction, but like the first scene that really caught me was the scene where Wanda is coming out of like the gong. Like she comes out of the reflection.
Yeah.
The 3D model they used of her like contorting herself was horrible, in my opinion.
Okay.
Obviously, everything is my opinion. It was just so bad. I'm like, what is this? And it goes back to rushing these projects. I'm fairly certain that this movie could have benefited so much from like 6 more months of post-production. Like leave it in there, let them really fine-tune it and hone it down. But I just think they give themselves these deadlines. And they're like, we got to put out content. We got to put out content. I don't care what it looks like. Send it out. And then you get these messy films, and just the CG in that. And again, I'm going to bring up Moon Knight because it's all I can think about the whole time. The CG in this big budget film was comparable to the CG in their streaming service, which is wrong. It should not be that way. It should be the best of the best, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I know they definitely are trying to push that the TV content to be, you know, that level, so it doesn't feel like a lesser program or lesser production rather.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought everything looked okay from my point of view, except the fucking eye. The eye.
Oh my God! Right?
The worst.
Dude,
the worst.
They literally took just like a PNG. And they just like dropped it on the shot and did the most minimal like motion tracking. And that was it.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? In both instances too. And like the whole like cheesy, we're going to end this film on like a horror movie note where like the horror's not over. His eye is back.
So I have a whole thing about the post credits. If we want to jump to that before we talk about the rest of the film, because we're tangent.
Let's go. You lead the way. I got anger no matter what.
All right. Woo! We're fueled by rage today. So, post credits. Obviously, it's Marvel's thing. Phase 4 has been 2 and 2 this whole time, except for the shows. But movies, we get 2. Second one, fuck that trash. Comedy, I get it, but unneeded.
Agreed.
The first one. Okay, let's talk about the ending of the film. JC just brought it up. The eye comes back. This is supposed to signify Doctor Strange, you know, is being not tormented, but, you know, has the effects of using that evil book. Fine. Totally fine with that. I'm fine with that. He's affected by it, collapses to his knees. We see the stupid eyeball. Cuts off. Fine. Leave it at that. Suspense. Oh, what's going to happen? Just like JC said. Then we get the first post-credits. We get Clea, Charlize Theron's character. Cool. But then, I'm pretty much going to do verbatim from the other video I recorded, but please go check Marvel Plus out. But then, I'm going to go off camera for this on the stream so I can reenact this. Doctor Strange, boop, 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 Mickey Mouse walks down the street like nothing happened. And then Clea comes in, I'm a space cop, blah, 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 whatever. Come with me in this dark portal. Are you scared? And he's like, no, I'm not scared. And the eyeball goes, and they just Super Mario jump into the portal. How does this make sense? You just had this man dying in the street out of pain. And now he's fine. You could have done the same thing, which I also said in the other video. Same thing. Change the whole atmosphere. Doctor Strange in the Sanctum Sanctorum, however you say it. He's having a rough time. He's sad. He's mad. He wants to know what's up with his forehead. Why is he like this? He's trying to solve it. It's all dark and spooky in there. He's got a fire. Who cares? Then we hear a mysterious voice. Hey, Doctor Strange, I hear you fucking shit up, or whatever she said. And then she walks from the shadows. We get the Clea moment. Oh, Marvel fans know. Okay, cool. She does the same thing. We open the portal. I need your help. And Doctor Strange says, okay. Totally different. Does the same thing, but isn't stupid. Like, you just had to change a little bit.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. You want to know what that is? It's bad writing, which is a lot of what this movie suffered with. I know it's that. But it's also gotten to the point, like, I've just become like numb to these like new character drops. We're like, oh cool, Charlize Theron's now in the MCU, great. But it's like, that's exactly how Eternals ended. Oh cool, Harry Styles, is it Harry Styles? Yeah, Harry Styles is now in the MCU, great. At the end of Shang-Chi, cool. No, not Shang-Chi. The Eternals, oh cool, Blade is now in the, it's just all these, like, they keep ending all these movies the same exact way, and I'm just becoming numb to these like big freaking name actors, don't get me wrong, but it's just like, oh cool, another actor in the MCU.
Yeah, we need to kind of harken back to phase 1, where we had moments like Thor or Coulson seeing Mjolnir. Like, just spice it up, do something different. Like, that's all. We like reveals. Okay? Yes. Like, okay, I know you're not a wrestling fan, but shout out to the wrestling fans right now. When they debut people, sometimes they'll do like a lights off, lights on thing, and they'll just be magically in the ring and they'll whoop ass. They do that too much now. It's like, it doesn't mean anything. The electrician's back there just flipping switches. It's lost its spunk. Same thing. You gotta spice it up.
Exactly the same thing. I completely agree. It's just like, I groaned, I think, at that post-credit scene. I was like,
Yeah. I mean, I get it. It's cool. Like, once again,
is it cool?
It's okay. Harkening back to phase 4 is fan service. It's a cool moment for people who know that character, the Doctor Strange lore. It's cool. How they delivered it, not cool.
I agree. Yeah. And so, I mean, if we're going to talk about fan service, do you want to jump right into the Illuminati here?
Hell yeah! This is probably the highest point, in my opinion, of the film.
So you enjoyed the Illuminati?
I loved it. Now, I understand later portions of the Illuminati, how that's controversial. I'm a pro for it. Do I wish things were different? Yeah, in some certain ways, but that's a selfish thing. But I get it for storytelling aspects. So, Illuminati gets revealed. We knew from the first trailer they were in there. We knew Professor Charles Xavier was making his return thanks to, his voice being in there. Illuminati confirmed in this film. Xavier in his 90s wheelchair from the cartoon and the 97 X-Men fucking music. I popped hard for that. we get Baron Mordo in there. All right, cool. Welcome back. I'm glad you're here. We get Agent Carter. Fan service for What If. Popped for that when I saw the shield. JC's shaking his head no. He's pissed. We had Captain Marvel, which is Monica Rambeau confirmed, the friend of Carol Danvers. I thought it was cool. Didn't recognize the actress when I saw it, but deep dive later. We get Black Bolt. He's kind of a staple for the Illuminati. Do we really care too much about the, those guys after that failed TV show? No, but it was cool. And then we get the big one that everybody was fan casting that JC also doesn't seem very happy about, probably because the phone didn't performance. We get John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic, which I popped hard for too because I didn't see it coming. So yeah, obviously for my energy right now.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm genuinely glad you enjoyed that scene. I would have loved to enjoy that scene. I would have. So I'd be curious to know too, are we going to get John Krasinski actually as Reed Richards? Is this just a fan service, like little cameo? But also, if it is just like a fan service little cameo, I would have enjoyed it a lot more if he didn't look like his whole family was being held hostage and he was being forced to be in this movie. Like, he did not give a shit.
Yeah.
And I felt like, but I think that's just, for me, again, I felt like that through the whole movie. None of these actors cared. Like, so John Krasinski's like, hey, I'm Reed Richards. No, don't do that. And then he's like, I'm a father. I have a wife and kids. Oh, no, I'm dead. Like, that was it. That was the entirety. I will say, I did, the one of like 3 parts of the movies I enjoyed was Black Bolt making his own head blow up. I think that was genuinely really kind of cool. But so I felt that it was all these characters in there were fan service. They were not only fan service, they were cannon fodder.
Yeah.
And just for like a scene that I think was supposed to be like dark comedy, but to me came across like edgelordy. Like, they're like, we're not Disney, we're dark and gritty and we kill people and look at all these heroes, they're dying. And it's like, you just introduced these characters. I don't like half these characters. I don't care about them. Now they're dying. Yay. Like, what it seemed like to me is somebody on the production team watched James Gunn's Suicide Squad, was like, wow, this movie's successful. What's in this movie? Oh, dying superheroes? Cool. Let's dying superheroes our movie. Yay. And then Disney was like, well, we can't kill important characters. Fine. Cannon fodder. Yay. And then just, so to me, it felt like a payoff that was unwarranted and undeserved, and it didn't land.
Okay.
But again, all my opinion, obviously. I'm really genuinely glad that you enjoyed it. I would have loved to enjoy it. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. They were definitely cannon fodder, and I think that was maybe not needed, but I think it was crucial because we're constantly pushing Wanda. Obviously, from her first appearance being experimented on until now. We know Wanda's powerful. Push her, push her, push her. Would I have appreciated a little bit more of a fight back from our newfound friends? Yes. I appreciate Captain Carter getting a moment. I appreciate Captain Marvel getting a moment. Shut up. I would have loved to see Mr. Fantastic more. Just something. Yeah. Just a little something. Like, just the reach, and then he'd be ribboned out. I mean, I get it, but selfishly I wanted more. The Black Bolt thing, honestly, I'm fine with. Because, honestly, what is he going to do? We saw the demonstration of his power, which I appreciate, because that gives general audience, like, oh, this is what this guy does. You can't really do that in a fight and keep everybody else safe, as far as I know. So I feel that was fine. You could make it his death be the oh shit moment, and then have the others kind of do stuff like you did with Carter and like you did Marvel. Doesn't have to be super long, but at least, like you said, they're fucking heroes. Mm-hmm. They took down Thanos in the 838 or whatever number it is universe. They have to have some credibility, so let them do stuff. So, a mixed bag. I get it from a story point. We need to make Wanda feel like a threat. Give these people a little bit more to do. And then, yeah, the Charles thing, like, I loved him being in this movie. I like that we got to see him attempt to do what he could do. That was brutal, seeing him get his neck fucking snapped. Jesus Christ. And then what's Baron Mordo doing? Just chilling in a hole? I've been defeated. I can't climb out.
He's still stuck in that hole to this day.
Apparently. I will say one thing that I thought would happen, but obviously didn't. So we saw the Ultron sentries.
Yep.
I almost thought Ultron was going to be in one of the chairs. Just because the sentries were there. I was like, that would be a curveball.
Right. Because there was so many, like, what-if connections anyway that it seemed like we would maybe get Ultron, but we didn't.
Yeah.
I think, to me, like, that, they wanted that scene to be their, you know, Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield moment. Mm-hmm. So, you know, here's the shiny keys. Mm-hmm. But, like, the keys weren't shiny enough for me, so I wasn't distracted by them. But also, I do think this movie could have landed better with me if What If hadn't come out first. Okay. Because they took a lot of this plot line from the What If plot line. Okay. With Strange. So I think that kind of that kind of spoiled it in a way for me. Maybe if I hadn't watched What If first, I would have enjoyed this movie a little bit more.
Interesting. Okay. Fair.
But like also going back, the dude's stuck in a hole.
Yeah.
We don't know what happened to him. Why is he not there? It goes back to me to like small little details of bad writing. So like you just mentioned, the Illuminati killed Thanos.
Yeah.
When they went back to that flashback, which is supposed to be the end of this crazy big fight, Doctor Strange was dirty, wounded. They're all standing there, pristine, clean, just in their hero poses. I mean, you couldn't put dirt on their face. You couldn't put a little blood or like it's lazy. And I think what it was too is I don't think any of those people were ever in the same room together. I think that was all comped.
Gotcha.
Which is also probably why John Krasinski didn't do well. But like it's the laziness, like the horrible writing when Strange escapes and the woman frees America and they're running and suddenly the cape shows up and like off screen they're like, yeah, I fixed it. What the fuck fixed it? Who fixed it? How did you release it? Why is it here all of a sudden? Or when like Wanda finally has America at the very end and she starts sucking her power and then like 10 minutes passes and she's still sucking her power. And then we go back somewhere else and we come back, she's still sucking her power. It's like, dude, she is dead. Right. Like it's the sloppiness and it's just the cheesy sloppiness and all it's blah. And also personal pet peeve. And this is a totally petty thing. When they went to Earth 838 or whatever, this is a directorial choice. They jumped from 24 frames a second to 60 frames per second. And I hate the look of 60 frames per second. So that entire universe to me was just like, ugh. This is so ugly.
Interesting.
So and again, that's nitpicky. That's on me. Personal preference. If that was the only thing wrong with this movie, I wouldn't hold it against it. But just a little icing on top of the poop cake that was this film. In my opinion.
This is the first time I've heard, like, obviously frames are a thing in film, but this is the first time I've heard it come up in a film conversation. I've heard it in video games all the time. And I'm like, bro, I don't see shit. Like, I can tell. It blows my mind that people can tell. Like, obviously, yeah, if things drop frames, you can tell because it's the difference of the norm. But like 30 to 60 to this and that, I'm like,
I fully acknowledge with video games, the more FPS, the better. That's fine. Most TV is broadcasted 60, like news and stuff. That's fine. But films should not be 60 frames per second. It's like, so, have you ever like noticed the soap opera effect when you're watching a movie? Like motions seem too crisp and there's like no motion blur and it like doesn't feel filmic anymore. It feels like reality TV. That's the vibe of 60 frames per second. So when you jump from this really filmic look to suddenly I'm watching like, Jersey Shore, like to me, it's so ugly. It's just so ugly. Gotcha. So that was, again, that's a nitpicky thing. I don't hold that against the movie. Just weird choice, in my opinion.
So yeah, you mentioned the What If tie-ins. We got Carter in there. We got a call out to Doctor Strange controlling other Doctor Strange to combine his mash and his universes.
Yep.
Zombies, kind of. We kind of like that's probably the closest we're ever gonna get to a live action.
There is talk of them doing a full live action zombies.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that has come up.
Interesting. All right, we'll see. It'd be different. Give it a try.
I think so. Like to go back and touch a little bit earlier, you were asking me like what my feelings were like for the future of Phase 4.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to get like too into it because we hadn't discussed Doctor Strange yet. But like I'm hesitant now.
Okay.
I will fully admit to you that I am hesitant. Doctor Strange hurt me bad.
Gotcha.
It really genuinely hurt me bad. I'm very hesitant. I'm scared. Normally I'd be like, hell yeah, Thor 4, the first hero to get a fourth solo movie.
Right.
Taika Waititi is very, very competent, good director. If he's sort of kept in check, it's going to be great. But now I'm like, oh no.
Gotcha. That's fair.
Doctor Strange, it scared me, bro. It scared me.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're 25 plus films deep into this thing. Yeah, it's going to be interesting going forward. I've talked with a couple different people, and I'm like, even like Kate, who doesn't watch the movies, and I'm trying to like convince her first off to start watching them, but like trying to explain it all, because I know she doesn't care, but like she, takes interest in my interest and let me talk about it. And I'm like thinking, I'm just like, when does it become too much? You know, like how many connecting tissue can we make? And Phase 4 like is just building upon that. And in a way it's troublesome, and then in a way with also the multiverse stuff of the fan service, it's almost like it doesn't matter. Like it's just like one and done. Like the Spider-Mans, we're not going to see them ever again. We're not going to see Doc Octopus again. We're not going to see, you know, this version of the Illuminati. You question if Krasinski was going to cast in the Fantastic Four film. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he does, because, like, you know, obviously they look the same from universe to universe, but then there's the differences. Maybe we get a different actor in there, and that'd be fine. You know, and like this is the little fun part of like, oh, it's Xavier from the Fox movies and the X-Men. Like, that's his appearance in the MCU. Done. I don't know.
I'm glad you said that too, because this is also something I kind of wanted to touch upon you with. Is I mentioned it earlier, quantity over quality kind of conversation. Like, at what point do they oversaturate their own market? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's really tough for me to find time in my life to consume all these movies, to consume all these shows. You look at that like slate of logos they have coming out over the next like 10 years, and there's like freaking 50 of them. But it's like to the point that I feel, and it's not a fair comparison. So from the very beginning to Endgame was like lightning in a bottle, this concise, this well-crafted, developed and driven character dramas, and like it was like perfect. And obviously they could never, and I don't think anyone ever expected for them to like reach up to that caliber again.
Right.
But it seems like instead of even trying, they're like taking the route of, let's just bombard people with shit, and like something's got to stick for somebody, you know. And that's why I feel, to me, all this stuff is just so rushed, because they're not worried so much about putting out a quality product. They're worried about keeping them in your mind, keeping them in front of your eyes on your television screens, on your movie screens. And I feel that we're, as viewers, suffering because of that. Although I do have to admit that it's mostly for like these younger generations now, and younger generations are into the whole TikTok and social media thing. And that's a whole other conversation, obviously, but it's instant gratification viewing. It's short form. It's a little bit more raw. And it seems like that's definitely seeping into what I'm seeing in like the Marvel universe. And being the old millennial that I am, I don't enjoy it. I really think they could benefit from, let's do maybe one show and one film a year. Take your time, make them well crafted, well thought out, just make them good. And, you know, that would be great. Or flip side of that, we had up to Endgame. It was a great run. Let's just do one-offs. Let's not connect them anymore, you know, and then maybe independently they can all be stronger productions. I don't know. I don't know the solution. I don't get paid billions of dollars to do this. I just pay money to consume all this. So I'm curious of what your thoughts, if you feel like maybe we're hitting that point of oversaturation, or if I'm just a cranky old man.
Right. So, yeah, burnout. Yeah, that's been a conversation not I've had, but like has been in the spectrum for a while, of just even superhero films in general, of like there's too much oversaturation, like you mentioned. Yeah, it's, now that we've had this conversation, definitely with Doctor Strange, it seems like a step down. And I mean, I still enjoyed, you know, pieces of it. Like I said, I think it's a fun movie, and like it's okay. It's interesting to think about it in the grand scheme of things. Like you said, the Infinity Saga, Iron Man 1 to Endgame, that was a concise, full story. Now we need to build to the next big bad, which seems to be Kang, the Conqueror. We've had tastes of that in Loki. That seems to be the focus in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. But at least right now, there's call-outs to things, but there's not any full connective tissue. Like, obviously with Phase 1, S.H.I.E.L.D. was the connective tissue. S.H.I.E.L.D. wrangled everybody together. Phase 2 is a little bit more shaky. of like what exactly was the connective tissue. I guess you could say Thanos, because that's how Guardians got pulled in. And then more of the stones, like the stones were also the connective tissue. We don't have necessarily this build for Kang right now. We've seen obviously the elements of it once again in Loki, and eventually we'll see it in Ant-Man and Wasp, but in the other films there doesn't seem to be any like thread per se. We have kind of a tease with Shang-Chi, and something is, you know, being called out to with the rings. But then Eternals goes on a different tangent where it's like the giant things. I'm blanking on what they're called, but the Galactus type fuckers, you know.
So what the hell was their name?
I don't remember.
God.
But yeah, so anyways, they're going on that tangent. And then you have Spider-Man and Doctor Strange are obviously multiverse. So you have like all these different paths going on. And I think what would have helped, I think we might have talked about it before. If not, maybe it was just me and Marvel Plus. With Loki, we have the moment at the end where, you know, we see that branch of timelines. And then obviously later on he comes back and Kang's in charge again. The movie should have been from that breaking point of Loki, like everything's just going, and then like Loki's end to end is like down the road where it's connected back again. Right now, I thought the multiverse would just be explained by the branching tree, but it's being explained differently with the Doctor Strange spell and now girl who can punch holes in multiverse. Like
star-shaped holes.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's been her thing since 2011. I did some research on that too. So it's just, it doesn't seem to line up like those elements, and that makes it confusing. And it's just like you said, right now it's almost one-offy, but it doesn't feel like it commits to be one-off.
Yeah. And exactly.
It's interesting. Yeah, I don't know if a bigger break to figure out this next saga would have helped. I assume Feige's taking care of all this. That's a lot of pressure.
It is a lot of pressure. It seems like, you know, maybe he's cracking a little bit. You know?
Maybe. I don't know. We don't know this man's plans, but I don't know. It's interesting.
It's tough too. So you wanna assume you're ingesting all this because they are building up to like a big bad, another big crossover, right? Mm-hmm. But they keep introducing all of these A-list talent characters that it's almost going to be impossible for them to wrangle all these people together for a big film unless they're all just green screened in together, which is a problem that I've been noticing with a lot of these modern films too, is all these people are just green screened in next to each other. Like no one's ever acting in the same room together.
Right. And I think that's something that Feige has said himself, is there will never be an Avengers film again. And I even talked with it about Kate. Like that moment, Avengers assemble, and you see all of them, you see all of good and all of bad charge at each other. I'm sorry, but I don't think you can top that. That was something special. The hammer moment of Cap picking it up, the first time he says Avengers assemble, seeing all these motherfuckers pop in that you didn't expect to be in this movie. Why is Howard the Duck there with a gun? I don't know. Like, it was insanity.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
To think like I could picture another moment like that, but I don't know if it carries the same weight, kind of thing. And that's like, oof, I don't know. Like you mentioned, lightning in a bottle. That is hard to capture once. Forget even twice. I don't know. That's, yeah. Oof.
Yeah, I think it's really cool that we were able to experience like the Infinity Saga, because, you know, crossovers have been done before, but not to like this extent. Like this was a really big shift in how Hollywood like runs, as you can tell, because everything's a connected universe now. Oh my God, kill me. But it was a very cool thing to experience. And I think what should have happened is maybe like mentally I should have backed off a little bit after that, because I should have known that You know, this wasn't going to be able to happen again. But instead, I still ran full force into it. And I think Doctor Strange is the first time where I actually sat back and I'm like, how much longer am I going to commit to this? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, where are we going? What are we doing? And how are we going to get there? Because so far, the ride of Phase 4 has been iffy. I'll call it iffy. There's been some good, but it hasn't been any great, in my opinion. And then now we've hit what I would consider a pretty big dip. So it's interesting. I have, and I know you have, and a lot of people have devoted a lot of time to this super ridiculously interconnected story. So it's interesting.
Yeah. Papa Griff says in chat, maybe this is too big for this show, but what is the whole concept of the multiverse and that doesn't overly complicate things and lead to all these stories? Oofa. Okay, let me see if I can break this down. Whew. Okay, so I'm gonna not, I guess, mirror this to comics. So let's take this one storyline. This is Cap, this is Iron Man, this is Thor, this is whoever the fuck you want here. This is your canon universe. They all progress at the same rate. They're all doing their own things. Eventually they'll team up here and there, blah, blah, blah. Goes on. The theory of the multiverse is this same canon, but like thousands upon thousands, millions upon millions, all happening at the same time.
Yep.
There are slight differences. For example, Captain America is British, so it's Captain Carter instead of Steve, which JC's not a fan of. Maybe in this one, Thor's an asshole and does this thing. Maybe this one, for some reason, T'Challa's brought into space and not Star-Lord. And they're all doing their own thing. So it's a way to kind of... It's like the fork in the road. Do you choose left? Do you choose right? Both are now storylines. If I chose left, if I chose right. So it's all these webs upon webs of choice factors, whatever you want to call it. So with the multiverse in the movies, it's exploring that. For example, with Doctor Strange, we have this Doctor Strange. He wasn't the Sorcerer Supreme. Avengers did their thing, blah. In the Doctor Strange that were introduced at the very beginning of this film, he is Defender Doctor Strange. So he has a different role. He's slightly different powers. He has a different look. Then there's another one where he is Sorcerer Supreme, not in this film, but in general. There's one where he's a really corrupt and evil and like really pursues the magic. It's like all those different options. Hopefully that explains it. I think that's the easiest way to do it. But like JC said earlier, like, when does it get too convoluted? Well, yeah, if you're thinking about all these universes. So in the Marvel Comics universe, from my understanding, there seems to be two main canons. There's 616, which was confirmed in this movie is the Marvel Cinematic Universe. They're 616. Don't ask why the number is that way. It probably has something to do with Marvel Comics and their history.
Yeah, there's a significance to it. I just don't remember what it was.
Yeah,
I think it might have been someone's street address.
Maybe. So 616 is like the main canon. And then there's another one, which I don't know off the top of my head what it is, but I think that's where like a Miles Morales comes in and other characters. And during certain big comic events, they've had crossover between these universes. So the one I can think of, there was this event called Secret Wars, which was, I believe, in the 80s. And then they also had a run in the 2010s. And that was like multiverses crossing each other and whole Jesus Christ, chaos everywhere. Everything was blowing up. I couldn't say words. Everything was on fire. So yeah, that's essentially what it is. Yeah, just a lot of possibilities. Just kind of like exploring these different avenues, I guess you could say.
The cynical answer there is now, from a Hollywood standpoint, death means nothing in these movies.
Which also has meant that in comics, but yeah.
Yeah. So now it's a way to string fans along, like, oh, Robert Downey Jr.'s dead, but if he ever wants to renew his contract, we can bring him back in from another universe.
Or we can bring in Tom Cruise's superior Iron Man, as we thought in this film before it was Captain Marvel.
I gotta wonder, that was either like a brilliant fake marketing campaign or got cut somewhere, because I heard too much about that for that to have just been online speculation. Like, well, that's an interesting one.
I don't know, because, okay, I thought of the other universe comic-wise. So there's 616, and then there's their Ultimate Universe. And when they relaunched the Ultimate, or they launched that line, it was like early 2000s. They like based their heroes off certain personalities and actors. And Tony Stark was based on Cruise, so...
Yep. And Samuel L. Jackson was the basis for that Nick Fury, and 100%. Then he ended up being in the movies, which is brilliant.
100%.
I do gotta say, them confirming that the cinematic universe is also 616 is kind of bizarre, because Mysterio in Spider-Man was like, I'm from Universe 616. Like, did he just randomly make that up and somehow got it right? Like, are you kidding me with that? There's an infinite amount of numbers, and he threw 3 together, and it happened to be the proper designation.
Right.
Come on. What the hell is that?
Let's see. Papa Griff says in chat, so you'll never really get closure on any one line that diverts from the main canon, because infinite possibilities. Yes, essentially.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, so that's why, like, if Infinity Saga was the end, that would have been a nice, neat bow.
Yes,
but
exactly.
We got to keep exploring from there. So Mrs. G in chat brings up another interesting point of the Doctor Strange film that I personally noticed. I don't know if you noticed. So Wanda's whole mission, obviously, is to get her kids. She wants to be a mother, doesn't have the kids in this universe because she hocus pocus made them, and then that whole thing blew away. So we see the kids in the other universes. There's no sign of Vision anywhere. Did you pick up on that?
Yep.
Yeah. Interesting. And then my other follow-up question, okay, who's the dad? Or did she hocus pocus these ones too? She could. I'm just curious. Like,
I have nothing but cynical answers for you.
Okay. I mean, hey.
So I think realistically, Paul Bettany's out of contract. They didn't feel like paying to get him back.
Okay.
So they just didn't mention him. You could go back and say bad writing, but you could also say that it's the multiverse, so there's infinite possibilities, which can be used as justification for bad writing. It's like, oh, it doesn't matter, it's the multiverse. I do have to say, probably the realistic answer is he's out of contract and they didn't want to pay to get him back.
Interesting.
But also he may have been able to put up a better fight, or he may have been able to sway our Wanda in a certain way if she encountered him again, that she wouldn't be as pure evil.
True.
I guess that's my non-cynical answer. From like a story perspective, he would have proven to be too big of a hurdle for this movie to have existed in the way it did.
Gotcha.
But no, I definitely noticed that. I'm like, I think his name was brought up once. I think I heard Vision come up one time.
At the very beginning.
There was no mention of him in the other realms. We didn't see him. We didn't even see like a shitty photo of him on the wall.
Right.
We didn't see anything. So I was like, that's interesting. I did notice that, and my cynical side went, it must have been too expensive to bring Paul Bettany back to these films.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to come back eventually, because at the end of WandaVision, we see that white Vision. I don't know what other name we're calling him, but like the melding of the new robot and his consciousness.
Yeah.
Together. And they're flying around somewhere, but who knows?
Will we see him? I don't know. Will we get a Moon Knight season 2? I don't know.
I mean, it seems like it for how they're leaving that off.
Seems like it. They didn't announce anything yet.
No, I mean, that's smart. Being patient like you wanted them to.
There you go. I'm contradicting myself now. Go slower but faster.
Yeah.
I think this, to me, Doctor Strange was the first time I really felt like maybe they're not in control and the MCU has gotten so big and convoluted that it's unwieldy for them now. I don't know. I think, like I said, the multiverse is a really convenient and easy way to be like, oh, this isn't, this breaks canon. Oh, well, it's the multiverse,
True.
So I think, what we all want from the multiverse is Thomas Jane's Punisher to come back, because that movie was spectacular.
That'd be interesting. Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see if they keep relying on that, because it seems like we're out of that spectrum. Spider-Man being done, and then Strange being done. As far as I know, there's no confirmed titles with multiverse in there, but I guess there could be remnants in the characters, because once again, we talked about Jane. Is she a multiverse, like from a different one, or is she actual Jane? Where's Mjolnir coming from? Is that how they explain the Panther thing? I doubt it, but who knows until we see it, obviously.
I think, yeah, it's scary because it could be literally their crutch for everything.
Yeah.
Like, I do think there's a very good chance the Jane we see in that Thor is a multiversal variant. I think Black Panther would be an interesting. I just had another one in my mind that I thought might be multiversal, but I don't remember what it was. Oh, Spider-Man. There's going to have to be a way. They're not going to leave him hanging where Ned and MJ don't remember him forever. So there's got to be a way to fix that.
So that was an interesting note of this film, too, that they blatantly made sure to make a point of. Doctor Strange remembers who he is. Wong remembers who he is.
Well, so they never erased Spider-Man from people's memories. They erased Peter Parker from people's memories.
You are correct. I stand corrected. Oh, yeah, they did just say
but
Spider-Man.
There's still a lot of thought that, like, Strange crafted his spell in a way where he knows who Peter Parker is still.
Okay.
And maybe no one else does.
Gotcha.
That's definitely a theory that floated around for a while. But also the theory was Doctor Strange in Spider-Man was a Skrull. So I don't know, like, if any of that's true, setting up for secret invasion there. But,
what? Okay. No.
Like
How did he hope? Well, I guess anybody could magic because we saw the ox there randomly. Like,
also, Ned can magic. Why couldn't a Skrull magic?
Yeah, it's just. I guess we already did that when fucking WandaVision, because Fury. Wait, was it?
That wasn't WandaVision, but Fury is a Skrull, or was a Skrull.
Right, that was. I don't remember, but yeah, because he's up
Captain Marvel. It was Captain Marvel.
Yeah, because he's up in Sword Base.
No, was it Captain Marvel?
The Skrulls were in Captain Marvel, but...
Right, but what movie was he a Skrull in? Spider-Man? Was it Spider-Man?
Yes, because it was Mysterio.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So,
Bro.
who the freak knows?
Oh, my God. I mean, like, that makes sense, but the Skrulls are good in this universe, so it doesn't make sense, too, because...
But they've already announced they're doing a Secret Wars thing, so there's got to be some bad Skrulls.
Well, they're doing Wars and Invasion.
Yeah.
Let's see. Mrs. G in chat says she thought the sister was going to be Black Panther. Yeah, I think that's the confirmation, which anti-vax, I'm not super stoked about that, but they got to do
it is hard to separate artist from art sometimes. It is a struggle for me too.
Yeah.
Like, this character isn't the actor. The actor may be a shit person, but the character's not.
Yeah.
But so I think she is going to be the Black Panther. How's she going to do that? I don't know. They burnt all the flowers except for one and then gave it back to Chadwick. But also, how are they going to explain where Chadwick is? We'll see. I mean,
yeah.
We'll have to see. I really don't know that they're going to kill him off in universe. They might do a thing where he's in costume for the beginning. It's a full CG or it's a body double. Yeah. And they have the ability now to replicate voices. That's a thing that they can do digitally. So maybe there's just like quick scene in the beginning where he's like, I'm off. Or maybe it's not even based in Wakanda, because didn't he put Shuri in charge of like was it New York City?
Oh, the like school or like the
wherever that was based. I think he put her in charge, so maybe that's where it takes place.
Maybe.
How she becomes a Black Panther, I don't know. But also they're talking about bringing Killmonger back.
Yeah.
Hell, they do that. Multiverse.
Well, did he die?
Yo, he died.
Bro, it's been a while since I've watched these movies. I gotta rewatch.
he dead. He like Tobey Maguire at the end of No Way Home dead. Stabbed straight through.
Gotcha. Okay. Ooh, yeah. All right. Shit.
It's messy, man. It's messy.
Yeah. I mean, at least that's a factor that's out of their control. At least, Jesus. I didn't mean that, Chadwick.
Quick, edit it out. Edit it out. We're not live. Cut it. Quick.
Oh,
Cut the feed.
God. It's a factor out of their control. So that's something that
exactly
they are forced to change. So that's unforeseen circumstances. So I can understand the turmoil there. The rest we'll talk about. But yeah. Well, this has been another episode of the Wait, What Are We Talking About podcast. My name is Brett, a.k.a. Enigma911, and today I was joined by JC, a.k.a. at Music with Friends. JC, thank you so much for being on the podcast today, man.
Thank you for having me and letting me rant uncontrollably.
It was fun.
At least 3 Zoom sessions. They kicked us off twice, right?
Yeah, bastards. It was a lot of fun. We'll definitely have to revisit this down the line. I know we've talked about getting one Mr. McAuliffe in on this too.
If you could do a format where we just battle to the death, the 3 of us just battle. Although I feel like you're generally a pretty solid neutral middle ground, so you're like Switzerland. Hey. And then Jake and I will just like fucking fight to the death. And you can award points. Make it a game show.
Okay.
Whoever presents the best argument between Jake and I gets a point.
Okay. I'll see if I can start putting that together. That was a lot of fun. If you guys want to join in on the fun, you can go to twitch.tv/Enigma911 where the show is live every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern. You can join the chat like Papa Griff and Mrs. G did today. If you're a subscriber over there, we'd love to have you in on the conversation. But if you can't catch it live, that is A-OK. Drops over on YouTube and podcast services the very next week, where it's broken out topic by topic and put as one big video and MP3 for your amusement on the following Friday. Last but not least, #ad merch store. Get all of your swag over there. T-shirts, cups, backpacks, and more. Rep the brand, support us, and we would love you for it. JC, you're the best, man. Thanks for being on today. It was a lot of fun.
Appreciate it. Always a pleasure.
We'll have to figure out the next one. Viewers, thank you guys for hanging out, giving this a watch, giving it a listen, give it a chance, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.